Healey Happy Hour, formerly Historical Happy Hour, the podcast that explores new and exciting novels of all genres. I'm your host, bestselling historical fiction author Jane Healey, and in today's episode, we welcome Lisa Patton to discuss her new novel, Kissing the Sky, which has been described as the must-read novel we all need right now, a bold, beautiful testament to the power of community and the transformative nature of love. Welcome, Lisa.
Well, hello, Jane, and thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. I'm going to
Yeah.
just do a little bio about you, and then I have probably more questions than we have time for, but we'll do our best. So,
Okay.
all right.
Okay.
Lisa Patton, the best-selling author of 5 novels, is a Memphis, Tennessee native. She has over 25 years of experience working in theater, radio, TV, and music, including a decade with Doobie brother Michael McDonald, who, along with his wife Amy, helped Lisa co-write and produce If Not For You, an original song for Kissing the Sky. Amazing, I have questions. A graduate of the University of Alabama, Lisa is the proud mother of 2 sons, 8 bonus children, and 12 grandchildren. She and her husband live in the rolling hills of Nashville with their 4-legged furry son named Ziggy. Again, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I love this book, and I love that, there's I don't feel like I've read a lot of books that take place in 1969. So this is the, summer of 69, centers around the Woodstock Music Festival. Talk about how you came up with the premise of this novel.
Great question. I was watching the 50th anniversary coverage in 2019. I'll never forget, I was sitting in my bedroom and it came on. And as you just said, I was in music and all that for 25 years. So I love it. And
Mhm.
I've always been fascinated by Woodstock, even though I was too young to attend. I remember seeing the movie in New York City with my college roommate in 77. And, of course, I call myself a once sheltered Southern girl. My eyes popped out of my head at the movie, people walking around naked, and I'm thinking, whoa. So I'd always been fascinated with it. And I went to Google to see if there had been a Woodstock novel already because I wasn't familiar with it if there had been, and I couldn't find one. So I thought, oh, well, I better get busy. So I did, and the title came first, and that comes from, since Jimi Hendrix was the headliner of Woodstock, it comes from the song Purple Haze, Excuse Me While I Kiss the Sky,
Yeah.
and that's where I got the title. So that's kind of how I was inspired to write it.
Oh, title was one of my questions. So that was always the title?
First thing I thought of.
Amazing. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And at first it was going to be Kiss the Sky. And then I looked it up and there are probably 10 books called Kiss the Sky.
Uh,
So Kissing the Sky was actually my first idea. And then somebody else said Kiss the Sky. So anyway, we settled on Kissing the Sky. And when I found out that Jimi Hendrix was the headliner, it was even better.
Perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally fits.
Yeah.
So your publicist sent me notes about your research, and I'm sure like you're a research lover too. And it sounded like such a fun, fascinating process. Talk about some of the people you talked to and if you discovered anything surprising.
Oh gosh, it was just quite a rabbit hole to dive into. The most interesting thing, I'll start with this. First of all, and I'm going to quote the first line of the book, and that is, they say if you remember Woodstock, you weren't really there. So that proved to be so true and quite an obstacle when researching and writing the book because it was true. I even spoke with the creator of Woodstock, Michael Lang, before he passed away. I believe he passed away in 22 or 20, about 22. And we had a great conversation. He was so generous, but he was quick to say, I think this is, what happened when. And when writing a novel, you kind of need to know what happened when, to make it accurate. And he had even written a memoir called On the Road to Woodstock and readily admits he wasn't absolutely sure, you know, what happened when. And then I talked to his assistant, Joyce Mitchell, who was in her 90s at the time. She is too, since passed away. She didn't remember anything either. She was helpful, but still couldn't remember running order, when the rain came in. And sidebar, At Woodstock, the announcements made from the stage were the only means of communication and the only way you would find somebody if you lost them, because there were no cell phones, there was no nothing. There were 500,000 people in a pasture, and you would have to go give a note to the stage to, if you lost your friend, to say, I can't find my ride, my friend, my keys, anything. So the announcements, the order of the announcements was important, like when they decided to make it a free concert. So I really needed exact timing. I was scheduled to talk to David Crosby, and actually was able to. I knew a friend Michael McDonald, who had set me up an interview with him. Well, COVID hit, and then unfortunately he died of COVID. So, not that he would have known the exact order of anything, but anyway, that's part of the research. I could go on, but I will say this one thing. Only until I met a man named Andy Zaks, who discovered the original Woodstock tapes. They had been in storage in New York for 30-something years, and then they were transferred to Hollywood to a Warner Music facility. He found them, ran with it. Rhino backed him, and now he put out a compilation album of every single song, running order, announcement. Only then could I know exactly what happened when in the book.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Thank you. It was so fun. I'm like you. I love the research.
Yeah, I love it.
You have to make yourself get back to the writing, right,
Yeah,
Jane?
oh, always. I know. It's bad.
I know.
So Woodstock, so this is to your point about research too. I mean, Woodstock itself, the festival is almost like its own character. And I love when
Yes,
settings are like characters. So
it is.
how did you create like such a vivid setting with sensory like overload, like music and weather and mud and smells and like all this stuff?
Well, thank you for A, but B, it was a writer's dream because you know how they always say heap conflict on your protagonist, or the more conflict, the better. I mean, we know conflict keeps people turning the page. Well, there was so much built-in conflict, from torrential downpours that created terrible mud to the music, all the best bands of the 60s, with the exception of the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, and Joni Mitchell. I think there were a few more, but most everybody else was there. And so the music, it was kind of easy to create that because there were six light towers and sound towers, so the music could be heard everywhere. And the like I said, there was so much mud, so much rain. Let's see, just it was sensory overload just to be there. So all I had to do
Yes.
was
So
just
much,
account
so
for
many
it.
drugs.
Yeah, oh, hello, the drugs. Oh
The
yes,
drugs.
the drugs. Oh my gosh, yes, the
Yeah.
drugs.
Amazing. So of course, this being a story about a music festival, music plays a huge role. And I was interested too, reading your notes about you used lyrics in the novel and you had to secure permissions. I know about that because I've tried and failed in some of my books. And so talk about that process. So I want to talk about that process. And then in addition to that, like you also wrote a song for this book, and that's just crazy. So like talk to me about the music elements of this.
Okay. Well, I want to say that one of the reasons I got to write that song, and I'll come back to it, is this book took me a long time because, unlike you, I'd never written historical fiction before. So that was quite a learning curve for me, all the time it would take. But anyway, so answer to your first question, which was, okay, now I'm getting off track. I know you want to know how I wrote the song, but lyric permission.
Yeah,
Yes,
lyrics. Yeah.
that is quite a story. So, yes, Nancy, our editor, was adamant that you have got to get permission. You've got to get permission. So, boy, I got busy and I started writing people because my original draft had so many more lyrics quoted. For instance,
Hmm.
Susie Q. It worked perfectly in there in the story. And I thought that that was a Creedence Clearwater Revival song. Well, turns out, no, they covered it. And there is a holding company called Hal Leonard Company that if you write to them, they will go secure the permissions for you. I tried to go directly to Warner Brothers and the artists. I mean, I wrote John Fogerty, I wrote lots of artists, and I went to Joni Mitchell's website, wrote to her, never heard anything. Well, it turns out most of these people use this company called Hal Leonard, and they secure and quote the fee for you.
Interesting.
And it's not cheap,
No.
and I didn't think I wanted to do it. Now, I was fortunate to get lyric permission from 3 people who did give it to me gratis. It was so kind of them to do that. But there were some others who they weren't going to do that. But can I tell you one kind of funny story?
Of course.
So because the title is taken from the Jimi Hendrix song Purple Haze, I wanted to use excuse me while I kiss the sky, in the lyrics, right? In the text of the story.
Hmm.
So I contacted the Jimi Hendrix estate. That estate you can contact directly. We were in constant contact. One has to send not only where you're going to use it in the story, but like 10 pages before and 10 pages after. I thought I was going to get to use it, but then I got told in the end that the Jimi Hendrix estate does not grant lyric permission for any work that has anything remotely to do with sex or drugs. And
Wow.
I said,
Wow. Jimi
wow.
Hendrix.
I said, I find that so interesting. So I write back, I go, in all his flawed glory, Jimi Hendrix, the headliner of Woodstock, it's documented that he brought 12 groupies to the stage. In fact, when someone from the audience screams, Jimmy, are you high? It's documented on tape. He says back, yeah, baby, I am high. Thank you, baby. Thank you. And I thought, okay. So I was willing to pay for it, but I wasn't granted permission. But sweet Joni Mitchell did grant me permission
Wow.
to
Amazing.
because I wanted a verse from her song Woodstock as the epigraph. Well,
Hmm.
you get you can print all the lyrics. So I ended up printing the lyrics in the back of the book, the whole song, because you can. And I didn't mean to do this, but there were a lot of similarities in the story and that song. So anyway,
Amazing.
that's a little bit about how
Yeah,
that works.
yeah, fascinating, fascinating. Because yeah, I've a couple times with editors, they've just been like, you can't even, don't even bother. Try
Yeah.
like I tried to put like a Sinatra song in there or something. They're like, nope, that comes out.
Well, it's true. I mean,
Yeah,
and they won't pay for it. I had to pay for it, and
yeah,
it's
no,
not
they won't.
easy. But for this book, I was determined to have a
Yeah,
couple in there that I
that
could.
makes
So
sense.
so I
It
did.
makes sense. Now, the
Yeah.
other music aspect I want to discuss is the original song that you wrote with.
Okay.
All right,
Yes.
tell us everything. Yeah.
Okay. So I was Michael McDonald's personal assistant for 10 years. And he lived in Nashville with his family. And as his personal assistant, I did everything from getting autopsies on his goats when they died
Oh,
uh, to reporting rattlesnakes on the property to helping him produce videos and songs and oh I did the gamut of so many things because I'd had a pretty long music background when I came to him. He was my last music position. So, but anyway, our family and his family formed a close friendship. Well, they moved to LA. I'm sorry, they moved back to California, Santa Barbara, and I went and started writing when that happened. Well, anyway, the whole time I kept hearing his wife's voice, Amy, in my head because she has a beautiful voice. So I approached him and I said, "Hey, will you write a song with me? And Amy, will you sing it?" And it was over dinner one night when they were back in Nashville and they were like, "Sure, sure." Well, I persisted and then I flew out there and it was so fun because we wrote the song in under 2 hours. It just was meant to be because it just came out.
mm-hmm.
And then Michael was kind enough to produce it. there's a studio there in Santa Barbara, and because he's Michael McDonald, he has a lot of connections, and his Doobie Brothers pals did the rest of the instrumentation. He plays organs and keys, and Amy sings it. And it's kind of fun because it will be, that recording is in the audiobook.
Awesome.
So it's dropped in the audiobook, and if you belong to any streaming service from Amazon Music to Spotify to Pandora to iTunes, it's on there, and you could go. And my hope is that people will go and listen to the song while they're reading, because the song lyrics are at the end of the book, and that they would hear the real song.
I'm going to head over there after this because
please do. I can send you the link, Jane.
Thank you. I didn't realize it was already out. That's awesome.
Yes. Well, it came out February 1st because the book is in the First Reads program.
Yes.
And we wanted people to be able to hear it, but they're not going to really push it until March 1st.
Yeah. So cool.
She's releasing it as a single.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was kind of fun.
Super fun. So different. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have questions about like the characters, but I wanted to just ask what's the difference between like writing long form fiction and writing lyrics? Because I feel like they're so very different in terms of your brain and the type of writing.
Right, because you have to write a whole story in 5 minutes or less, because it's a ballad, and there's traditionally in song structure 2 verses, 2 to 3 choruses, and a bridge. And fortunately, Michael, who's also songwriting is his gift, and he knows that. And I can't tell you how many songwriting sessions, excuse me, I scheduled for him while I worked for him.
Wow.
It was kind of a full circle moment to get to do that with him. But it's like condensing the whole story down into a few minutes. And you're right, it's a different part of your brain. But I wish I could tell you, because he helped too. It was the 2 of us doing he did all the music. I can't take credit for any of that, just the lyrics, because he was helpful there too. But I don't really know how to answer that because he was guiding it,
Yeah.
But it is a different part of your brain. You're exactly right. You have all the freedom in the world to expound on anything you want. And now you got to condense it down to this tiny little 5 minutes or less in time.
Yeah, or less.
Less, yes. This one's 5 minutes. We probably made it a little longer than we should have, but we're not looking for, radio doesn't, I think radio, you have to be 4 minutes or under, and we weren't really looking for that. But
that's right.
That's a great question anyway.
Very cool. Very cool. So the main character, Susanna, comes from a highly conservative Southern family, and Woodstock is her first real rebellion against her family and her father, thanks to her friend Livy.
Yes.
How did you come up with these characters and this storyline?
That's a good question too. So I'm a huge Beatle fan, and that was the first concert I ever went to. My mother took me and my little sister and me when I was 8 and she was 6. It was August of '66. I'll never forget it as long as I live, because I was standing on my chair so I could see over the teenagers' heads, and you couldn't hear a word they said because all you heard was screams, screams, screams. It was the Mid-South Coliseum. And I remember being out there, and I remember seeing Ku Klux Klan and thinking, weird, didn't really understand what that was at 8. But I started thinking, what would it have been like to have been a teenager in 1966 in love with Paul McCartney, as most young girls were, John, George, Ringo, so in love to the point where they're known to have wet their pants at concerts and all that stuff. I thought, what would that have been like when John came out and said that the Beatles were more popular than Jesus? What would that have been like to have come from a home where they said, nope, you could never listen to him again, never. And I thought, what would that have been like,
Yeah.
And I let my mind go with that, because in Memphis, Tennessee, there were Beatle burnings and record burnings. In fact, it wasn't just Memphis, it was all over the country, but more so in the South, I think. And I just said, that would have been horrible. So I imagined that situation. And to make it worse, what if her father was an Army colonel? And
Mm,
back then, I interviewed a couple of people with fathers for Army colonels. And the two that I interviewed, they were very strict and weren't super hands-on or nice, or just really strict men, just, you know. And I thought, what would that have been like? And then what would have been like if her brother was Vietnam age and that father, that military colonel, insisted his son enlist to make him a man? Because that, what if that brother, like Susanna, they're very creative kids, and he's
hmm.
not really the soldier type. What would that have been like, you know? So I just started thinking about it. And as you know, Jane, just let my mind go and wonder, just kind of came up with that scenario for a protagonist. And I thought she's got to be very naive because she's been raised in a very strict home,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
with all kinds of restrictions. And back in 69, of course, you weren't an adult till you were 21, and your parents pretty much had autonomy over you. At least in the South, you had to do what they said still until
Hmm.
you left home. So
Yes. Yeah.
what was that? What would that have been like? That's what
So,
I'm.
so interesting. And so I was thinking about this too. This is a dual timeline of Susanna in 2019, looking back, and also during that, amazing summer. Did you always plan to write it that way as a dual timeline?
No,
Oh, okay.
I did not. I was thinking, I wrote it first without that at all. And then I was talking to a friend because it's kind of technically a frame story, sort of like the Titanic. You know, when the Titanic opens, it's Rose as a grandmother with her granddaughter. And that's the first scene, the last scene, and then you go back to it a few times, a couple of times within the movie. Well, I have a friend who had written a frame story and she suggested it because I thought it needs something more. And she suggested the frame story. And I thought, oh my
Mm,
gosh,
yeah.
that could work. So I really, while it's not the majority of the chapters, it's just 6 chapters that they go back. And there's a lot of flashback chapters in the book too. But I
Hmm.
thought that would be really fun to see where she ended up 50 years later, because at the 50th anniversary of Woodstock, I read or researched that many Woodstock originals, they call them, the people that went to Woodstock, bring their husbands, their grandchildren, their children. They want them to share the weekend with them, the anniversary weekend. And the 50th anniversary weekend was really big. In fact, the Doobie Brothers played that weekend.
Nice.
Um, and so did Ringo Starr, and so did John Fogerty, who has a small part in the book that I couldn't resist. And anyway, um, that's why I did it, because I thought it would kind of be fun to show her arc as an older lady, because
Hmm.
it was really just the book took place over 3 weeks. And how do you show somebody's arc in 3 weeks? That's kind of hard. I mean, you can a
Right.
little, but did it stick, you know?
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
I thought with the older lady, you could know more about how she ends up that way. So
Yes.
that's how I came to do it.
Yeah, so interesting. Yeah, I loved how you structured that.
Well, thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it really worked well, and I think and I think it's tricky, right? With
Oh,
any sort of dual narrative is tricky. So,
and I've never done that before.
mm,
And I
yeah.
can only just go like this to those of you who
Oh
do.
my
I
gosh.
can't,
Yeah,
this was my first shot. So
I agree.
maybe.
I want to talk about the cover. This will be on YouTube, but for those who are listening, the cover is like this gorgeous, like multicolored illustration, and a couple on the top of a Volkswagen bus, and the whole crowd in front of them. And I get a lot of covers, and my daughter's really artistic, and so like this one was sitting on the counter upstairs, and she's like, "Oh, that's a great cover." And I'm like, yeah, we always critique covers. I'm like, isn't it? I'm like, it's different. It has the vibe. Like, did you have a lot of say in the cover?
No, and I tell you, it's the best cover I've ever gotten. I screamed when I opened the file. Nancy, as you know, we share an editor, and she kept telling me, no, I hadn't gotten it yet. I haven't gotten it yet. The right one hasn't come across my desk. So she never gave up till she got the right cover. And a fella did it in Washington State, and he was or is amazing. And they sent me two, and that to me was the clear cover. The colors are so beautiful, and
Yeah.
Nancy gets all the kudos for that because she
Yeah.
didn't give up till she got the right cover. And it is, thank you. It's so colorful and pretty. I don't know
Yeah.
how they could have made it any better because
So
it
fun.
shows two people in love at a concert.
Yeah. 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 It hits all the notes. I love it. Yeah.
I
Um,
think so too. Thank you for saying
oh,
that.
you're welcome. So I have a few writing questions that
Okay.
I ask everyone. Um,
Okay.
what's your process? Are you a plotter or a pantser?
In between,
Yeah.
I started out as a pantser. For my fourth book, I plotted. This book, I plotted, but then I had to go back to pants. I bet you I revised this book. I'm embarrassed to say there's just no telling how many drafts. 20? I even went from first person to third person, then back to first person. I mean, I was insane. I was laughing with a friend of mine the other day. I go, at this point, I think I'm making 0.05 cents an hour.
I know when you do the math on all the hours. I know.
Oh my gosh. And
Yeah.
then by the time you spend your time promoting it,
Uh-huh.
well, we can agree, can't we, Jane? It's not a big money maker. It's just not. But when you want to do it, you kind of have to do it, I
Yep.
mean, so thanks to my husband, I can do it, right? But
Right.
it's tough. It's really tough.
The hustle is real. I always
Yes.
say. Yeah.
But I think I'm both, a mixture of both.
Interesting. Okay. And so you've written contemporary novels. You said this is your first historical. What do you have a preference? Like, what did you enjoy about this? What did you not enjoy
Well,
about?
can I tell you my favorite thing I enjoyed, to be quite honest, is I loved that I could write a story without the use of text messaging, cell phones,
Mm-hmm.
that I could write a protagonist that is different from the 20-year-old protagonist today, because honestly, I don't know a lot of 20-year-old protagonists today, and it's just, it would take a lot of research to get into the mindset of a 20-year-old protagonist for me. Now,
Oh yeah.
this girl is 20, and I want 20-year-olds today to read it. I mean, of course I do, to learn about the counterculture and the time in 1969, because what a rich year that was in our history. And I want
Hmm.
them to learn. But that to me was my favorite part, is not having to worry about text messages and cell phones.
I
It
say that all
makes
the
you have to
time.
work for. What'd you say,
I
Jane?
say that all the time about historical fiction. It's like, oh, just not having to deal with any of that is great.
Yes. Aren't you right? I mean, it's
Oh,
so true. I love that. That was my
yeah,
favorite part, for
yeah.
sure.
Nice, nice. What advice do you have for aspiring writers who are listening about writing and or about getting published? Any advice?
I try to make it my goal. I think those of us who are published, we need to help those who aren't, and if nothing else, be a listening ear to impart any wisdom that we have to help them to keep going, because it seems like since I first got published in 2009, it's so much harder to get published. And I hear of people, first novel, second novel, third novel, rejected on the fourth novel. And I think, wow. And I have to temper this with, it's real easy to get jaded. I think the older you get sometimes, and I don't want to make anybody feel defeated. So I wouldn't do that. But I would say art is subjective.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell my son this all the time. Like, I am a commercial novelist, right? I mean, I like to think I have a sentence or two that's pretty in there, but I am not a literary writer. And you don't have to be, as long as you're a good storyteller. And I heard John Grisham one time say, I am not the best writer in the world, but I'm a damn good storyteller, is what he says. And I thought, wow, that really gave me a lot of made me feel good. So I think that if you're a commercial writer and you love a plot and you love telling stories, that you should do that and you should not give up and you should believe in your own art, because I mean, we writers can get in our head and get an imposter syndrome just like that. And
Yes.
isn't it the truth? You listen to the background noise. There's an angel here and a devil here, and the devil screams, "You're a fraud," and the angel says, "No, you're not. You're beautiful. You're really good at that." So you have to quiet the noise, believe in yourself, and just keep going. And if it ever gets to where you need to stop, I think you'll know that, and I think God will let you know, but really, I think that's what I would tell people. Just keep going. Keep going. Don't give up. Please don't give up. That's what I
Excellent.
would say.
Excellent advice. Yeah, persistence in this business is everything. Yeah, I completely
Everything.
agree. Yeah.
I could keep you on for another 15 minutes talking about persistence.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And I think
Oh,
that's definitely a theme among the authors that I talk to on this. And, it's like keep yourself in the game. If you take yourself out, that one yes is not going to happen. So,
I
yeah.
took myself out for a year and I mean, for a while, and I won't go into why, but it was harder to get back in than I thought.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's tough, but it's worth it. And in the end, you have to satisfy yourself and your own creativity and just feel good about yourself despite the noise, because
Yeah.
when you can write a sentence, we know
hmm
that.
Totally agree. Are you ready to talk about what you're working on next?
Um, I could if you
Okay.
want to.
Yeah, if you want to. Yeah.
Okay, it's 1990, so as apparently that's historical fiction, and it's set in New York City, and it's about I always make a Southern protagonist because I know them the
Yeah.
best, but it's a Southern girl in the 90s who was a theater major, and she was had to she was all ready to go to Broadway with her college roommate and best friend, and they were going to go hit the streets when her mother died. I'm not giving anything away, and she had to come back home and help her father raise her little brother. So she gave up her dream of being a star, or on Broadway, to raise her little brother, and then just becomes a drama teacher and is okay with it. Well, until an opportunity comes for her to try out for her favorite play in the whole wide world, and that's Grease. And her roommate calls her and says, "You have to come up here." And she gets in, so she's got to make a living, and she gets hired. This is the fun part, by a sensational stage actress and movie film actress, and all the capers that happen in that job. It's kind of like, what's the TV show now that's on, Hacks. A
Oh, yeah,
little
yeah,
bit like that,
yeah.
but not really, just a little bit. It was inspired by a caper that happened when I worked for Michael McDonald. I'll just leave you with this because this is a fun way to leave it. Michael was a groomsman in Liza Minnelli and David Guest's wedding, and I got to go to the wedding, and it's just been a good basis for me to write. I've always wanted to write about it, and I'm finally doing it because it
I,
was.
I don't know if any author can top that story on
I mean,
there.
it's
That's
so
crazy.
crazy. Again, if we had more time, I could tell you the story, and we'll just say until next time
Until next time.
and then when we can talk about it. But it was insane. So my life is like that. I have always had these crazy jobs. This
Amazing.
is no different than all my other crazy jobs.
That's right. That's right.
I
Um,
didn't tell you I was an innkeeper in Vermont. So,
I read that on your site, I think it was. Yeah, yeah.
insane.
Amazing. Yeah. Um, Last question. How best can readers stay in touch with you?
Well, on Instagram or Facebook, or I have a website, lisapatton.com. I'm Lisa Patton Books on Instagram, and Lisa Patton Author. And that way, I think I do my best to get back with everybody that writes to me, unless it's crazy. But I would love to connect with my readers and just appreciate, and I know Jane, you can join me in this. It doesn't go without notice when somebody spends 10 hours of their precious time with your book. And
Absolutely.
I'm so grateful to anybody that would spend that kind of time with my book. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I'm so grateful for anybody that would take a chance on anything I've ever written. I'm
Oh,
grateful.
amen to that. Now, as a follow-on, do you Zoom with book clubs? Are you interested in, is that something that you do?
Oh, I do that.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, this would be a
I'm,
great book club book.
oh,
So, yeah,
thank you.
yeah,
Well, thank you. I enjoy doing that. I really
yeah.
do.
Okay, good,
That's
good,
fun.
good. Awesome. Well, Lisa, it was delightful talking to you. Thank you for
Jane,
coming on.
you're so cute. I have a new friend. I'm
I
so
know,
excited
me
that I have your
too.
number. I'm going to text you the song after this so you'll have, I think you already have my number, but please put it in your phone and let's get together. I didn't even know about that Lake Union party in the fall, but I bet you were there. I would have loved to have met you.
I did. It was fun. It was fun. It was short, but fun. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but let me do my little wrap up.
Okay.
Congratulations on this wonderful new novel, Kissing the Sky. Releases March 1st, but is available now on Amazon First Reads and is from Lake Union Publishing. My latest novel from Lake Union is Women of Arlington Hall, also available now. And don't forget to follow Happy Hour wherever you listen to podcasts or subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks again, Lisa.
Thank you, Jane. Till next time.